All right, it's November 21st, 2024, and much in the same vein as my rant from the last video that I made, here's kind of my recent thoughts about a lot of other things. I get the fear that those on the other side of the political aisle have against Trump. Right now, it's looking very, very scary, like he is going to become a dictator, that he is going to become this evil, horrible, horrendous, power-mongering man. And yes, we should always be careful of those who have that kind of power. But I also want you to consider this aspect. Some of the things that the media is saying are tools of a dictator, such as this 1998 deal that allows him to essentially appoint people to these positions, whether or not it is approved by the Senate or Congress or what have you. That was set up in 1998. That's what, I think Bill Clinton's time? Or Bush, sometime around the Bush Jr. era. At any rate, where people are at when it comes to Trump and why they voted for him, knowing full well that this is probably a very real possibility. Just like you, they have gotten so beyond fed up with the incompetency, with the protection that Congress, that government in general tends to run for each other, while criminals are running around getting away scot-free, whether they be Republican or Democrat. And sometimes you might feel like investigation on certain individuals is completely and wholly unjustified because you like them. Case in point, Matt Gaetz. I really don't know what to make of that guy. Sometimes I think he's all right, and other times I look at him and say, okay, what is your angle? Now, there's always going to be some level of self-preservation involved, and there's always going to be some level of wanting to get power when it comes to people in government. This is one of the reasons why power is very dangerous, and why you have to be very careful with the people that you put in those positions, because sometimes they will run wild with that power. I know it doesn't sound like much, but this is coming from a guy who used to absolutely loathe Trump, okay? So take that with whatever credibility you want to give it. I loathed Trump in 2016. I did not even become an actual avid supporter of his until after the 2020 election, and I saw what happened. I loathed him. I still sometimes scratch my head over some of his decisions. But if there's anything that I have observed about that man, it is that he is overall very reluctant to use power. And when he does, he tries to find a way to dissolve that power as fast as possible and put more of it back into the hands of the American people. We have a massive issue of codependency in this nation. We look to leaders, we look to government officials, and we look to government programs or somebody else to take care of things for us so that we can just kind of coast through life. And if we're being honest, the Constitution lays it out pretty clear that we, the people, are the ones that are supposed to hold all the power. Next up is the states, state governments, and then last is the federal government. It is not supposed to be the way it is now, which is where the federal government holds most of the power. States hold a kind of a sycophant styled level of power, and we hold next to none, aside from just who we cast our ballots for. So there is going to definitely be a lot of relearning involved. From a Trump supporter standpoint, believe it or not, we want the house to be burned down. We are tired of the bureaucracy. We are tired of the pretended investigations that go nowhere, wasting taxpayer dollars, no progress being made. All the while, these people that are supposedly guilty of these heinous, horrible things don't ever get held accountable. Now, some of you will look at that and say, okay, well, yeah, but what happened to Trump? Why isn't he getting his just desserts? Well, here's kind of the funny thing about that. Like I said in my last video, I was not sure what to make of it. I saw a lot of fancy wordplay that basically said, hey, We don't really have anything hard or concrete about this. We believe he's guilty, but we're not sure because we can't find any hard proof. And then I watched how things kind of unfolded. January 6th, other facets that seem to vindicate more and more to me that he actually is an innocent person and that we're being fed a half-truth by the media overall in general. So I look at all that and I say, I don't know about some of this other stuff that's still kind of questionable to me, but I'm going to side on the side that says, these other things didn't really line up with how the media portrayed it or even how our federal government portrayed it. Chances are he's also possibly innocent here. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe you guys are right. But maybe you're also wrong. Okay? Entertain that thought for a minute. I have followed the narrative of Trump being complicit in all of this. Again, I mentioned the Panama Papers in my last video. I could say that he is complicit in all of this and that he is a very corrupt man and that he has horrible, horrible, power tendencies. And he's an egomaniac. Okay? The more I follow that line of reasoning to where things are now, the more I realize he doesn't really have the pull that you guys think he does. And he's not quite as corrupt because it just does not add up for why he would do all that. Sure, he would have the power, but this is a guy who does not care for he does not care to be in the limelight to save his soul. He doesn't like it at all. So take that as you will. I think Trump will definitely probably use a lot of these dictator-styled powers that people are afraid of. But I also see him doing it to just get things done because the bureaucracy of our federal government continues to obstruct, to deny, to shadow, to hide, to redact, to classify just about everything they can come across to protect their own. And I suspect Trump will say, okay, well, these powers are set in here for somebody else to come and do that. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to burn down the house on my way out and reset everything back to where the people are the ones that are in charge, and the rest of y'all, federal government, the whole 9 yards, you're no longer protected, and you no longer have these power plays that you can do to screw everybody over. That's kind of where everybody in the MAGA movement is at right now. We all know it needs to happen on either side of the fence, and we all know that there's a lot of very corrupt and very powerful people that need to be held accountable, and I don't see that happening any other way. So I'm willing to give Trump the benefit of a doubt. And I'm willing to say, you know what, that guy's probably more right than wrong. And I need to give him an honest shot. I think he really will do a lot of really wonderful things for all of us. It is in a state of idiocy. Yes, it is a level of gamble on my end. And millions of others. And the media is definitely making it very frustrating to put confidence in some of his picks. But I'm going to trust my gut on this. And my gut says that God is the one that's in control. And I think a lot of things played out in a way that serves God's purposes, not mine. That's where I'm going to leave it. Take it or not. Tell me to shove it up my ass. I don't care. But that's why we're going for Trump.